Check it out, there she is. Here's what I'm working on today. If you've been following along on the social medias, Instagram and Facebook, you'll know that I bought this. There it is. A red wagon. What would you say I would be doing with a red wagon? A radio flyer. Well, when I was at Ian's place, we were putting this bed together and we were putting the radiator in here. And he had a good idea. So I need some sort of scoop to scoop the air into the radiator and kind of cover the big giant hole, because this is the radiator over here. That radiator sits right inside of here along this wall, and then it gets plumbed to the engine. Well, I can't have it sitting right up against the wall, right? There has to be some airflow coming in from the backside. So I need to open this up. But instead of just having the radiator exposed, I'm going to take that radio flyer and use it, cut one end off of it, and use it as a scoop to go right there. I think it'll work. Let's get started. A lot of times I'll come out here to work on this thing and I don't even know where to begin or what to do because there's so much to be done. So I finally made a list. This is my list of to-do items. So anytime I don't know what to do, I'll just come over here to this list and be like, what do I want to work on today? Because there's quite a few options to choose from. I had to make some little tabs for the top side of this radiator too. So I need to get those welded in place, make sure everything fits before I go cutting holes. Oh yeah, it's gonna be so nice. So now I need to figure out where to make the opening. That opening and the radio flyer should pretty much be centered right in there. What I'll do then is put some polar fans on this side and then a cage around the outside. And everything should fit in here. Hopefully, that's the plan. Still haven't figured out what kind of polar fans I want to put on there, but I want to try to take up as much of that space as possible with some big giant fans. So for now, I'll Sharpie this where it's going to be accessible, and we'll make some cuts. Get it. Taking this radio flyer apart is easier said than done. It's a little rusty. Let's see if I can get it. Oh man. Ow! Well, that's not gonna work.
Calm down before you stress up the groove. The energy a little different when the blessings accrue. Hey, who you talking to? Just know I ain't no regular fool. Could be anything in the world, but I can never be you.
Alright, now I need to cut a hole in the side of this sucker. To do that, I'm going to use the help of magnets and a square. I've got the magnets holding that square up, and then I'll just use my plasma torch along that edge and then readjust. I need air first. Ow! Oh, hello. Alright, I got my hole cut out. I kind of messed up right here. I cut it for the shape of the radio flyer, and it was too wide for the radiator, so I had to go back and weld that back in, patch it back in. You won't see that though. And then I cut some holes in the radio flyer because I didn't feel like this opening right here would have enough ventilation. And when it's just sitting there at idle, when it's driving, that'll be great because it'll be shoving air through there. But when it's just sitting there, it'll now be able to pull air through these holes. We'll see what it looks like once I get it on. If whoever wins this doesn't like that, what I would recommend probably is taking some of this expanded steel and probably just going over the top of this entire panel right here. That was kind of my second idea, my second thought. But we'll see what this looks like, and I think it's going to work just fine. And it kind of looks cool. It's got this retro vibe to it, so let's get it on there. Alright, check that out. We'll be able to get back far enough to see that sucker. But I think it looks pretty good, especially when we get everything kind of patinaed. Hello! Alright, next step is mounting this thing, so I need to drill some holes in these tabs here. And match them on the other side. Now when I go to transfer the hole, it's pretty easy on this side, but check out this side. It's hard to see, but there's a gap between there, and the Sharpie won't fit. Well, can't get everything down in there, but the Sharpie won't fit to the bottom of that hole. So this, you can actually buy these. They're called long nose pattern markers. I got this one, and it goes all the way down. Super handy for a lot of things to have that long tip on your marker. Now when I go to mount that radiator permanently on there, I want to put some sort of rubber isolator. So there's a couple different options. You can buy these, which are pretty cool. I use these for a fuel pump on the Comanche. It's got a male end and a female end, and it's all rubber in between. So you can actually mount that there, put a nut on the bottom, and then put a 1/4-20 bolt in the top there, and it has isolation. There's a couple different styles of that you can buy. Here's one with 2 males, so it would be like that. Of course, this, I pulled this out of an actual radiator mount somewhere along the way from a junkyard or someplace, or just an old build. And then the cheapest option would just be to take a little piece of rubber from a rubber hose and cut it and do like that and mount your radiator on top of that. But I'm going to wait until I am completely finished, because there's going to be a lot of in and out still. But I usually keep these little isolators and rubber pieces in one of my tool trays. There's a shock mount that might come in handy too. That would probably work as well. A little shock rubber isolator. Alright, check it out, dudes. I put the camera down there for a minute to get some work done. So the plumbing was rather difficult. My mom's boyfriend Jeff came over and we worked on that the other day. But basically what we did was took a 1 3/4 tube and had to bend it. So this one goes, it bends 90 there and then goes straight through all the way up in front of the engine. And once it gets there, there is a 90 in silicone, and then I had to lengthen that 90 out just a little bit. See if I can get you in here further. Yeah, so that the tube is right here, 90 in silicone, then there's another tube in there, and then just a short piece of straight 1 3/4 hose, radiator hose. And then on the top right here, it starts out as 1.5 inches. This is really nice hose. It's expensive though, but it bends over and around the engine and out the back there. Right there at the back of the cab, in between the cab and the bed, it turns into steel. And it's actually 1 3/4 with 1.5 inches shoved into the end of it. So then it turns into 1 3/4 and makes two 45-degree bends, and then it comes up right there and goes into a 90 right into the top of the radiator. Now, I don't have hose clamps on there, I know. A lot of people said that I'm going to need fans. Yes, I do need fans. It's not finished yet. There are going to be fans on there, so that will pull the air through here, suck the air in the front, pull the air through there. And I know a lot of people said that there was plenty of room to mount that here, but there's not. It's not enough room because you also have to have fans on there, and the fans add a lot of width to it, but also there's no airflow right here. I mean, this opening is very small, but there's not really any air coming through there. It just wouldn't have enough airflow right here unless I maybe made that, you know, this wide. But it's over there, and that's where it's going to stay. So what else have I been doing? Seems like a lot of you guys didn't like my fuel can idea of mounting that here and going through that to fill the gas tank, which my idea was that it would be a larger fuel tank. Like I would add, what is that, 5 gallons to the fuel tank. But a lot of you didn't like that idea, so what I decided to do is just order a fuel filler that'll go right here. Some people told me about a website that make universal ones, and it'll go there and kind of bend down at a sharp angle, and then that will just connect directly to the hose right here and go into the fuel tank, and it'll be a lot quicker and easier, and it won't require so much work from me. So that's good. Another thing I've been working on today is that's the Evap canister for the fuel system. So Rick, the Jeep doc, sent me this, or gave me this a while back, so I've been hooking that up. It mounts right here in between the bed and the cab, and one of these goes to the air tube, which I haven't done that yet, so I need to make some sort of air tube that has the air filter on it, and it's going to sit right on the other side of here. One of these goes to the intake to the vacuum, and then the other one goes, where did that other one go to? I don't even remember now. Oh yeah, duh, I was following it. It goes to the fuel tank. So, it should be able to pass emissions. Alright, we're in the cab now looking into this hole beneath the seat, and one of the other things we had to accomplish when we were routing the radiator hose here, it didn't have enough clearance between that and the steering pump. So this steering pump, you can see how it's burnt right there. I had to heat that up and bend it forward because it was pointed right down into the radiator hose. So now there's enough clearance, and that actually goes to the steering fluid reservoir, which is mounted right here. So that's the steering fluid reservoir. I made a little bracket for that, and it just mounts right there. And you can actually still pull that off of the little bracket if you want to. Just kind of is a tolerance fit. I also cut the transmission lines off the transmission and routed them over here to the radiator. They were facing forward with steel lines going all the way to the front of the engine because that's where they should go factory, but I need them over here now. But on the other side, I need to get some sort of a, I need to get some sort of a clamp to clamp those onto the tubes. Right now I just have the hose going over the tube, but it needs to be barbed or something so it doesn't leak. While I was doing that, I found this right here. So that is a ground strap. It's got 3 connections onto it. So one is going to go to the engine, which it's already there. Then the other one is going to go to the cab. So I'm going to mount that right there, and then the other one to the frame. The reason for that is because the frame and the cab are separated by rubber pieces right there, and so they're not grounded together until you ground them yourself. So what I'm going to do is make a dedicated grounding spot. I was looking for a bolt, but didn't really find a good one, so I'm just going to make a dedicated ground bolt. I'm going to weld that on there, and then I will weld another one down here on the frame, and we'll have good grounds. Alright, I got that ground wire attached to the cab, and then this one is going to go right there to the frame. I got the bolt welded on for that. And then I kind of forgot about the bed. So that's mounted on rubber too, but one of the easiest ways to check to see if you got something grounded is to use your multimeter and set it on that little doodad right there. So that's checking for connectivity, basically. So if you touch these, it'll beep. So then all we have to do is take that, put one end on the cab and one end on the bed. See? It's not connected. One end on the chassis and one end on the bed. It's not grounded. So we need to ground that too. I pulled this out of my scrap pile of battery cables and such, but it doesn't have an end on it. I have some good videos on how to make your own battery cables. If you want to watch those, go check them out. But you can always make a terminal end, and the cheapest way to do that is out of a piece of copper pipe. That one's rather large, so I'm just going to use this one that I have. But yeah, these are like $3 a piece sometimes at the automotive store, whereas you can buy this by the foot for, you know, really cheap, and then just cut a piece off, hammer it down, and basically that's how they make these anyway. It's just a little bit nicer than what you could probably do at home, but very much similar. But anyway, this you're just going to put in here, and one of the best, quickest, fastest ways to do that is this little guy right here that I bought on Amazon. I'll leave a link below if you want. It's also in that battery cable video. I tested a lot. I made a video where I tested all the different devices to make a crimp, and this was one of the better ones. Then you just smack it with a hammer. I need to put that on something sturdy. And then of course you can put something over that if you want to make it look pretty. Oh, so pretty. Alright. Got a ground there, and a ground there. And it's starting to rain, so I better get back after it because you won't be able to hear me anyway. So we'll see you guys in a second.
Happy guy. It's just a happy guy. Oh, look at my happy dog. It's just a happy dog.
Check this out, guys. So I just pulled these fittings out of the transmission. They go in here like this. And I noticed right off the bat that there is a little rubber one-way valve in here. So if you look at that, it's a one-way rubber valve. And my first thought was, oh, that must be the in at the top, and then when I pull the bottom, it must go the opposite direction. So I pulled the bottom, but guess what? The bottom is a one-way valve in as well. So they're both one-way valves in the same direction. Or I guess you'd say the opposite directions, because one, the transmission fluid has to come out one and then back in the other. So why would they do that? I started wondering. The reason I pulled these out, by the way, is because I want to try to find a barb fitting that will go like that, so I can just make this simple barb fitting on the transmission instead of having the factory lines. Well, why would they do that with a one-way valve? Can't say exactly why they would do that, but check this out. This is the factory transmission line that runs to the transmission. So when you put this in there, look at what happens. It pushes open that one-way valve. So what that means is, if you were to try to use anything other than the factory transmission line, then these one-way valves would close and it would burn up your transmission. Why would they do that? I don't know. I'll let you guys speculate as to why, but one thing I can tell you is that if you don't put the factory line in your transmission, it's going to burn it up unless you pull these and tear out those one-way valves. So just a little FYI there. If I can find a barb like this, focus. If I can find a barb like this that'll fit in there at the parts store, I'll have to tear that one-way valve out. Otherwise, it's just going to close and not circulate any fluid at all. I think a storm is a-brewing. So last night I was able to make it to the hardware store and I picked up this. So that's going to replace the transmission fitting. I took this one out of the one that's in the FC right now, and it's actually different than the other one. So this is an 04. This is an 04. The one with the valve on it, the one-way valve, is an 06. They're both the same size, just a different way of connecting. This one actually has a piece that goes in here, like a quick connect fitting, and then this clip goes over that and secures that into place, and then this snaps down over that to keep the clip from falling out. So just kind of a... But then they went to this. Why would they do that? I have no idea. Maybe, just maybe, it's to keep the fluid from coming out when you pull this, and it blocks the fluid and stops the flow so that you can change it without leaking too much fluid. But at the same time, it's not that great for attaching anything else. So anyway, we're going to go with this guy right here, and then I'll be able to just hook my hose straight to that. It is coming down out there now. Alright, I got all that situated. Now the next thing I want to do is create some sort of cage around this thing, because whatever you put in the bed, I don't want that to slam into the radiator. So I had Ian cut this. This is the same angle and curvature as the bottom section there. So I'm going to use this as a template and make something out of this stuff right here, this expanded steel. And to do that, I think I will use this 1-inch tubing here. So let's get started on that. So that worked, but the gaps are so big that it'd be impossible or very ugly to try to weld that all together. So let's see what happens if I try to bend it. This is not made for square tubing, obviously. It's made for round tubing, but it's kind of working. We'll see what it looks like here in a minute. I think it's kinking it. Oh yeah, not looking so hot. Getting real loud in here now. This is a lot of work. Check this out. Alright, check this out. That's gonna be sweet. The only issue is I left it long because this side needs to be contoured to fit the back of this bed. So how am I gonna do that? That's where one of these guys comes in handy. We've made videos on this in the past to make a big giant one of these, but I'm gonna use this one. And let me bring you over here to see what we're talking about here. So see that curvature right there? I want to make this fit pretty flush so that things don't get in there. You don't want something in the back of the bed going and falling down in there. So I'm just going to take that and shove it across here, trying to keep it level as possible. Looks pretty level. And then that is my template. So that is what I need to cut out of this right here. Something like that. Alright, there's my cut line. It's kind of hard to see, but I should have mentioned these are called contour gauges. If you're looking for one of those, you can buy them on Amazon or wherever. I'll try to leave a link in the description box below. Oh yeah! Look at that. Alright. So we have a pin there. So what I did was put a piece of flat stock on the back and welded that onto it. And then I wanted to make sure that it was strong when something hit it on this side. So I put some little pieces of angle just here and there along the bottom so that now it's pretty stout. It's pretty too. The camera really doesn't do it justice, but trust me, it looks pretty good. Now, my question to you is, should I put something along the top? Should I leave this top open, or should I put expanded steel along the top? The only thing, if I did that, I would have to take this out to be able to check the radiator cap. I'm not sure if I should do that or just leave it open like this. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm still searching for something to fit this hole perfectly. Somebody got a hold of me on Facebook that had a map box, an old map box that might fit in there, so we'll see if I can get a hold of that. Also, somebody had an idea to put a high lift jack in there. High lift, are you listening? I need your help. I have one, but it's old and crusty. I put it over here. It's been sitting outside for years, and it's a little rusty. I could probably get it to work. Maybe it would fit the patina of this anyway, but then I won't have one for myself. So I think while I was cleaning this bed out, I found some spots that still need to be welded, like right here and here and here. I'm just doing little stitch welds and then gonna put seam sealer in there. And then I've got some Herculiner that I've never used before, so we're gonna try that. Alright guys, that's all I've got for you today. We'll continue this next time. If you did not like that video, then do not click on those videos right there, because you won't like those either. We'll see you next time.